Oh, and I'm live. And I'm knocking things over. Am I still live? Okay, maybe not. I don't know. Let's try this out. So I'm going to attempt today to do a live stream on chapter 1. I'm going to see, I don't know, as much as I can get covered. I have the human over here on her phone playing, but she might need something, so I'll, be it ready for her. All right, so what I've done is I've got my notes near with the exam questions, and I want to pull up my PowerPoint able to see any comments. Says wait while we are reconnecting. Great. I don't know. I'll just put my PowerPoints. Let's see if I scoot over. Oops. Oh well, if I'll just check every now and then to see if I got a comment, so I don't miss anything. But anyways, oh look at that Bousy. That is Bousy McGee. Betsy McGee has entered the live stream. Bousy, she's a year old. I have 4 cats. Rainbow Kitty, Mr. Creeps, Little Devil, and Bousy McGee. And then the human child, which is 10, almost 11 years old. Oh, you look so cute, Bousy, sitting up all straight. You know, you're on camera, Bousy. That's her chair. She sits in the recliner. And Mr. Creep sits next to her in that chair. Please note my little creeper in the mirror there. We keep Halloween decorations up all year round. And St. Patrick's Day and other holidays, we enjoy the holidays. And last year, a student of mine was like, what is that in the mirror that's staring at you during your live streams? And I'm like, oh, it's a skeleton that's, I thought it was pretty funny. Scary. All right, so it took me only 3 minutes to get going. Maybe, I don't know. I might even delete this after I do it. Well, there's the little devil. Hello, little devil. All the kitties are going to come get on video. All right, so for starters, we've got the textbook by Henslin, James M. Henslin, The Essentials of Sociology, A Down-to-Earth Approach. And I'm sure that the edition, it really doesn't matter. Anyway, it starts off talking about, of course, the sociological perspective. Now, to be honest with you, I talked a little bit about this in class yesterday. The sociological perspective is kind of a different way of viewing the world around you. Social phenomenon that happens, you can view it using different theories, different perspective, like different lens to view phenomenon or social interactions with. And it kind of gives you a different way of understanding instances that happen in our lives. And we can compare those instances. We can pick and choose which one we think is more, agreeable or not. We can debate and we can agree, So throughout the textbook, they use the 3 theories of functionalism, symbolic interactionism, and conflict theory. My favorite is the conflict theory. Anyway, we will go over each one of those theories each chapter. Like, for example, when we are on the chapter about social class, we will talk about how the functionalist perspective views social class. When we're talking about race and ethnicity, we will talk about what does the conflict perspective or conflict theory think about race or the social construction of race. How does it influence people's lives? Does it cause conflict? See? Or, look for, certain things in phenomenon, and then you can explain it using these theories. All right, so the sociological perspective, to be honest with y'all, it changed my entire life. When I took Intro to Soc way back in the 1920s, I was at the University of Southern Mississippi. Dr. Amy Chastain Miller. Well, Dr. Amy Chastain, she is my role model. And she's so good. I took Intro to Soc twice. I took it as, in my earlier bachelor years and then my later bachelor years because I couldn't graduate, get my bachelor's of arts in sociology with a D in Intro, right? So I had to retake it. And brought my brother along with me, and he took it as well. But she changed my life by, teaching me how to view the world with these different theories. And I owe her, so much for influencing me in a positive way that changed my life for the better. Dr. Amy L. Chastain. She's still at the University of Southern Mississippi. All right, now I'm going to move on to slide number 9 on the chapter 1 PowerPoints that come from Blackboard. They got right now they got a purple background. It says the sociological imagination, also known as the sociological perspective. All right, it's a way of looking at things in society from an objective perspective. Okay, not subjective, but externally. Like 3 of my favorite words are external social forces. Like I always want to know, when I'm, somebody's telling me a story, I'm like, what external social forces were at work? You see, it's you cannot deny them. I mean, I know there are times when, for example, children are reared with wolves, for example, not in a society. Well, that very, very rarely occurs, and I don't know if it does occur for real. Like I think I saw a documentary on it one time. The child did not communicate the way you and I would, or children would that are from the human world. Anyway, now I'm going to tell a story later on about Jenny, which was reared to age 13 in the basement tied to a potty chair and had no interaction with humans. And she never learned how to speak, how to walk, etc. So it goes to show you that the external social forces, or the things that are outside of us, do have an impact on how we function in society, how we behave in society. Okay, and speaking of society, there's just a definition. Society, a group of people who share a culture and a territory. Okay, culture is the label of chapter 2, so we'll get to that later. And then territory, of course, is space. Uh, propinquity, if you would say, as in spatial nearness. Propinquity may come up later on in the semester as an exam question. Nowlands. New Orleans. I'm going there one day and I will live in New Orleans for the rest of my life. That's where I'm headed. That's my city. That's where I belong, is New Orleans. I'm going to read poems in Jackson Square. Anyway, all right. So, in using the sociological imagination, you would look at how social context influence people's lives. Like I said the other day in class, if I were born in 15th century China, I would be a totally different person than I am today. So being born in 1922 in the United States, how old would that make me? Yeah, that influences the way I think and behave. Okay. Depending on the social class that I was born into, the race, all these different things, the neighborhood that I grew up in, the neighborhood that I live in as an adult, the neighborhood that I live in as an elder. I mean, it's the external social forces are at work, okay, when explaining behavior. Social location is the another definition or a term is the corners of life that hello little devil that people occupy because of their place in society. Jobs, income, education. Let's see, education, for example, would be you, for example, getting your bachelor's of science, for we'll say that would be your social location. That gives you a difference than other people that have a PhD, for example, or other people that have no high school diploma. Now, before we move on, let's see, we need to make sure that we know that the definition of society, okay? Now, slide 10, the sociological imagination. We've got the cool C. Wright Mills. He was so awesome back in the day. Yikes, was it the 1950s or I think he was the theorist that would ride his motorcycle up and down the hallway. I think that was him at his college. Anyway, C. Wright Mills is a huge person in sociology. And he talks about the sociological imagination, about bringing together biography and history, okay? Bringing in, you know, an individual's life, the biography, the individual choices, which I would question because, uh, you know, I would say they're influenced by external social forces. But C. Wright Mills says the sociological imagination takes into account a person's individuality or a person's biography, a person's individual characteristics, and history, as in the historical point that they, are reared in or that they are alive during. The structural issues around them. Like, for example, right now, we are during a pandemic, a global pandemic, still. That is going to influence your life forever, as in, 300 years from now, they'll still be talking about this time of, 2020 of what happened, for example, in the United States. So, C. Wright Mills, to figure out, a human's, somebody's behavior, we'll say in the United States, to figure out their behavior, he would look at the individual and he would look at the structural issues or external social forces or historical time period that person was living as well. Like I said, if I was in 15th century China, I'd be totally different. If I was born during the Industrial Revolution, I'd be totally different. If I was born, with, dinosaurs, totally different. Okay, I'm going a little too far. But anyway, it's the intersection of biography, the individual, and history, external social forces. Now, here's a good one. See, right, or this part of the book says that it's possible that humans have no instincts. And I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to go with I pretty much agree, with the exceptions of look at the little feet. I know humans are born, or most humans are born, with the instinct to make noise with their vocal cords in order to get needs met. As in, they scream to get fed, they scream to get clean, they scream for attention. Have y'all ever been a parent? Enjoy. It is one hell of a ride. The hardest job I have ever done, no offense, is rearing a child. Wow. Anyway, so, humans are born with the instinct to cry to get their needs met. But past those instincts, I question the rest of them. Now, that's my perspective. You can have a different one. This is my opinion, we'll say. Now, of course, I could back it up with some stats, some science, but, I want to say that most of everything that we know is learned. We are taught it from someone else, except for the instinct to cry or, scream, holler, make noise, blah, 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 blah. What about laughter? Would that be instinctual? But we would have to learn what is funny. What about crying? But we would have to learn what is sad or happy to cry about. See? Interesting. I find it very interesting. What do y'all think? Let me know what you think. Let's see. So, we covered that pretty good. Pretty good. All right. Going on. Number 11, origins of sociology. How does social life work? How does it influence us? The scientific method. Okay. That one's on your exam. Scientific method. You need to know that one. Using objective, systematic observations to test theories. All right. So let's break this down. Let's critically think about this definition. All right. So we're going to, to understand a phenomenon, we're going to use objective, which means without bias, as in non-judgmental, from an outsider's perspective. Pretend like an alien looking in on human society on Earth. Like we don't understand why, there is a physical moving thing, with colors on their face, lipstick, talking to a computer, and that we don't know what a computer is either. That, we got to look at it from an objective perspective, without bias. Can you do that? Can you understand social phenomenon or interaction or life without judgment, without biasness? I mean, that's a debatable one as well. I hope that we can view things objectively without bias. But some people say there's no way, that you're always going to be influenced by something you've learned along the way. I say if you learned it, then you can unlearn it and you can relearn a new way. So if you do have biases, you could somehow find out what those biases are and change your thought processes and move on productively in society with a new way of thinking. Like, for example, I was racist. Okay. And that is, of course, being biased, as in, I think that one race is better than, or white is better than any other race. Okay. That's being racist. It's a ideology to justify treating people badly based on 6 genes out of 35,000 that make up a human's DNA. Skin color. It's socially created. Now, if I were to go around and say that certain things occur because of people's races, and that people are born this way because of their race, and it was something negative, that would be a subjective. Okay, you can unlearn ignorance and relearn truth and be objective and non-biased. You see. So it's very important to be objective when using the scientific method. You can't put your own, my daddy says that, this and this and this, that, orange equals blue. You can't say my daddy said it, so it's real. No, you got to have scientific proof. See, the scientific method. In sociology, we use the scientific method. It is a social science. A lot of people say, oh, sociology is just common sense. Oh, sociology, that's just your opinion. No, it's not an opinion. It's based in social scientific facts that's been replicated and found to be valid over time, okay, by numerous people that have, a lot of training in the scientific field, okay? So anyway, you have to be objective, non-biased. Let's, hope that we can put our judgments out of the way, or at least recognize what our judgments or biases are and put them to the side. Next word in the definition is systematic. That means, I just lost my train of thought. Systematic is scientific. Using objective, systematic, or scientific, or like organizing numbers in a way, using equations and mathematics. And then observations would be things that you experience, not necessarily view, but you could use your other senses besides viewing, because people that are visually impaired can do research just as well as other people. Or would there be some type of bias? But they could get around that bias. Anyway, so we don't want to be ableist and say that people that are visually impaired couldn't do the same thing, All right. And then to test theories. Theories are those perspectives, those chunks of knowledge that have been tested time and time again and created by old dudes way back in the day, and women maybe. Yeah. Well, like since the 1900s, but they've been around for a long time, tested over time, and they are there to explain phenomenon. So here we go, all together. The scientific method uses objective, systematic observations to test theories. Okay, so objective, non-bias, systematic, scientific, observations, experiences to test, as in hypothetically, theories, perspectives, as in A is more likely than B. We in sociology, we'll get to that in a minute, but in sociology, we never say that A causes B. There are always exceptions. We can say A is more likely than B, or A may, most likely, less likely, may, might. We never say does, can, will, because nothing in life is certain except death. Anyway.